The world is a battlefield of emotions. Every day we are bombarded with chaos, conflict, and distractions that threaten to pull us apart. But what if there was a way to remain unshaken, to stand firm like a rock amid the raging storm? The Stoics believed that mental strength wasn't something you were born with. It was something you cultivated through deliberate practice. Marcus Aurelius, the Roman emperor and Stoic philosopher, faced relentless pressure from all sides. Wars, betrayal, loss. Yet he maintained a calm, unyielding spirit. How? By controlling what he could and letting go of what he couldn't. You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength, he wrote in his journal, Meditations. This was more than just a statement. It was a call to arms, a reminder that the battleground is not out there but within us. The Stoics taught that the mind is like a fortress. When we allow external events to dictate our emotions, we surrender our power, letting every passing storm shake our foundations. But when we anchor ourselves in reason, in the principles of Stoicism, we become immovable. Imagine standing on a cliff as the waves crash against the rocks. The water may roar and rage, but the cliff remains steadfast, unbroken. This is the essence of mental strength, to cultivate an inner fortress so impenetrable that no external event can breach its walls. And it all begins with controlling our perceptions, detaching from what we can't control, and focusing solely on what lies within our grasp. In the chapters ahead, we will uncover the techniques that transform ordinary minds into Stoic fortresses, unlocking the power to stand unyielding no matter what storms life brings. Marcus Aurelius often spoke of the mind as a citadel, a stronghold that no enemy could conquer unless we allowed them in. But what does it truly mean to guard the gates of our mind? It means refusing to give power to external circumstances. Imagine standing in a crowded marketplace, people shouting, chaos swirling around you. Most would get swept up in the noise, reacting impulsively, allowing frustration and anger to take control. But the Stoic stands firm, unmoved, observing without attachment. Epictetus, a former slave turned philosopher, taught that the key to mental strength is to differentiate between what is within our control and what is not. Some things are up to us and some things are not, he said, a simple yet profound statement that contains the essence of Stoic resilience. Your thoughts, your actions, your responses, these are within your control. The opinions of others, the actions of the world, the chaos of life, these are not. And yet how often do we waste energy trying to control the uncontrollable? We argue with those who refuse to understand us. We rage against circumstances that refuse to change. But the Stoic sees through this illusion, understanding that every ounce of energy spent on the uncontrollable is a step away from true inner power. Instead, they focus on what they can control, their mindset, their reactions, their decisions. This is where mental strength is forged, not in resisting what is, but in mastering the self. The battlefield is not the marketplace, not the world outside, but the mind. And once you learn to guard your inner citadel, the chaos of life may rage on, but it will no longer hold the power to disturb your peace. Seneca once said, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." The mind, when left unchecked, becomes a factory of fears, churning out worst-case scenarios, anxieties, and what-ifs that paralyze us. But what if we could dismantle this factory of fear, brick by brick, and rebuild it into a sanctuary of calm? The Stoics mastered this through a technique known as premeditatio malorum, the practice of negative visualization. Unlike toxic pessimism, this practice isn't about expecting the worst, but preparing the mind for any outcome. Imagine yourself standing before a vast ocean. The waves are unpredictable, rising and falling with the wind. You can't control the waves, but you can prepare yourself to swim. By mentally rehearsing potential setbacks, a financial loss, a health crisis, a betrayal, you train your mind to respond, not react. The Stoic does not flinch in the face of adversity because they have already rehearsed it. They have walked through the storm in their mind, felt the wind whip against their skin, and survived it long before the storm even arrives. This is the power of premeditatio malorum, transforming fear into familiarity, turning uncertainty into readiness. When you anticipate setbacks, you strip them of their power to surprise you. You remain calm, collected, and mentally unshakable. It is not about expecting disaster, but fortifying the mind against it. Like a seasoned warrior sharpening his sword before battle, the Stoic sharpens the mind before life's inevitable storms. And in doing so, they transform fear into fuel, anxiety into armor, and uncertainty into an opportunity to demonstrate their strength. The Stoics believe that every obstacle is an opportunity, a stepping stone toward inner mastery. Marcus Aurelius famously wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Imagine walking down a path and encountering a massive boulder blocking your way. Most people would curse, turn back, or feel defeated. But the Stoic sees the boulder not as a barrier, but as a training ground. They do not ask, "Why is this happening to me?" but rather, "How can this make me stronger?" This mindset shift is the essence of resilience. Every setback, every obstacle, every rejection, instead of viewing them as misfortunes, the Stoic reframes them as opportunities to exercise virtue. If someone insults you, it becomes a chance to practice patience. If you lose a job, it becomes a chance to cultivate perseverance. If you are betrayed, it becomes a chance to strengthen your self-reliance. The obstacle is not the enemy, it is the teacher. Epictetus taught that we must be like the fire. When wood is thrown into a fire, it doesn't resist or complain. It consumes it and grows stronger. In the same way, the Stoic takes every hardship and turns it into fuel, feeding the flames of inner strength and fortitude. The key is to detach from outcomes, to see life's challenges as tests of character rather than personal attacks. The boulder in the path does not prevent the journey. It defines it. The Stoic embraces the struggle not as a victim but as a warrior, using every obstacle as a tool to become mentally unbreakable. This is how they transform adversity into power, setbacks into stepping stones, and obstacles into the very path they were meant to walk. Imagine a man standing in the middle of a storm, rain lashing against his face, wind howling in his ears. Yet amidst the chaos, he stands still, calm, unshaken. This is the essence of Stoic mental strength, the ability to remain centered even as the world around you crumbles. But how does one cultivate such unwavering inner calm? The answer lies in the Stoic practice of detachment. Detachment is not indifference. It is not about caring less. It is about caring wisely. Seneca taught that the root of suffering is not events themselves, but our attachment to them. We cling to people, possessions, and outcomes as if they define us. We obsess over controlling things that are beyond our reach, pouring our energy into maintaining illusions of control. But the Stoic severs these invisible strings not through cold-heartedness, but through clarity. They remind themselves that everything external, wealth, reputation, even loved ones, is temporary, fleeting, beyond their ultimate control. What remains then? The mind, the character, the inner fortress. This is the only thing truly ours, the only thing we can master. Picture a ship in a storm. The captain does not try to control the waves, he steers the ship. The Stoic is that captain, focusing not on the storm but on their response to it. They detach from the chaos around them, anchoring themselves to what they can control, their thoughts, actions, and attitudes. And in doing so, they find peace amidst the storm, calm amidst the chaos, and strength amidst the suffering. For to detach is not to abandon the world, but to reclaim control over one's mind, the only true domain of power. Epictetus once said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." In a world where people are quick to blame circumstances, the Stoic takes full responsibility for their inner state. They do not wait for life to be kind or fair. They choose to respond with strength no matter what comes their way. This is the essence of the Stoic mindset, the power of response. Imagine standing in a crowded room, insults being hurled your way. Most people would lash back, reacting impulsively, allowing anger to seize control. But the Stoic stands firm, unmoved. They do not absorb the poison, they observe it. Epictetus likened this to a barking dog. When a dog barks at you, do you bark back? You understand it is just a dog, doing what dogs do. In the same way, when people insult, criticize, or provoke, they are merely acting according to their nature, their level of understanding, their state of mind. The Stoic does not internalize it. They let it pass through like a breeze through an open window. They refuse to give away their power to those who try to provoke them. For them, every insult is a test of self-mastery, a chance to prove that their inner state is impenetrable. This is not weakness, it is strength. The strength to remain calm in the face of provocation, to rise above petty conflicts, to remain in control when the world tries to push you off balance. It is the strength to respond, not react. A strength that comes not from controlling others, but from mastering oneself. And in that mastery lies true power, a power no insult or circumstance can ever take away. The Stoics believed that true freedom comes from within, from the ability to govern one's mind regardless of external conditions. Seneca wrote, "A wise man is content with his lot, whatever it may be, without wishing for what he is not." But how can one cultivate such contentment in a world that constantly urges us to want more, to do more, to be more? The answer lies in the practice of voluntary discomfort, a Stoic exercise in which one deliberately exposes oneself to small hardships to build mental resilience. Imagine waking up on a cold winter morning and choosing to take a cold shower instead of a warm one. Why? Not to suffer, but to train the mind to endure discomfort without complaint. Epictetus advised his students to practice going without, to skip a meal, to sleep on the floor, to wear simple clothes. These small acts of self-denial serve a powerful purpose. They remind us that we can endure far more than we think. When we voluntarily step into discomfort, we strip away the illusion that comfort is a necessity. We learn to separate what we want from what we truly need. And in doing so, we become less susceptible to fear, less dependent on external conditions for our happiness. The Stoic does not avoid discomfort, they embrace it as a teacher, a test, a tool. By choosing discomfort in small, controlled doses, they prepare themselves for life's inevitable hardships. They learn that pain is not the enemy, but the instructor, a reminder that the only true power lies in the mind's ability to remain calm, composed, and unbroken, regardless of the circumstances. And in that calmness, they find a freedom that no external comfort can ever provide. Marcus Aurelius once wrote, "The happiness of your life depends upon the quality of your thoughts." But how often do we let our minds wander unchecked, allowing negative thoughts to dominate our internal dialogue? The Stoics knew that mental strength was not just about enduring external hardships, but mastering the inner chatter that can erode our peace from within. Imagine walking through a forest at night. The wind rustles the branches, shadows loom large, and every sound seems amplified. Fear grips you not because of real danger, but because of the stories your mind is telling you. The Stoic recognizes this inner narrative for what it is, a series of illusions, distortions, and fears that can be challenged and reframed. Epictetus taught that it is not events themselves that disturb us, but our opinions about them. When a friend ignores you, do you think, they must be angry with me? Or do you pause and ask, what other explanations could there be? This is the power of cognitive reframing, the Stoics' secret weapon against emotional turmoil. Instead of letting their thoughts run wild, the Stoic examines them, questions them, dissects them. They challenge catastrophic thinking with rational counter-arguments, replacing irrational fears with objective truths. Is this truly a disaster, or is it merely an inconvenience? Am I interpreting this event accurately, or am I projecting my own insecurities onto it? By interrogating their thoughts, the Stoic takes control of their inner narrative, transforming every anxious spiral into an opportunity for clarity and calm. They become the gatekeepers of their mind, allowing only thoughts that serve them, strengthen them, and align with reason. And in doing so, they reclaim their inner peace, turning their mind from a source of suffering into a fortress of strength. Seneca once wrote, "Wealth consists not in having great possessions, but in having few wants." In a world driven by consumption, where success is measured by accumulation, the Stoic takes a different path, the path of voluntary simplicity. But what does it truly mean to live simply? It means recognizing that the more we chase external things, money, status, possessions, the more we become enslaved by them. Imagine a man who has everything, a mansion, luxury cars, endless wealth, yet lies awake at night tormented by the fear of losing it all. Is he truly free? The Stoic would say no. For them, freedom is not found in acquiring more, but in needing less. Epictetus, once a slave, knew this better than anyone. He owned nothing but the clothes on his back, yet he was richer in spirit than the wealthiest men of Rome. Contentment comes not from wealth, but from freedom, he taught. The Stoic practices voluntary simplicity not as a punishment, but as a means of liberation. They train themselves to be content with little, to find joy in the simplest things, a walk in nature, a moment of silence, a cup of water. By detaching from the desire for more, they free themselves from the chains of endless wanting. This does not mean they reject wealth or comfort. They simply refuse to be owned by it. Whether they have much or little, their inner state remains the same. Calm, unshaken, complete, and in that state they discover the truest form of wealth. A mind unburdened by craving, a heart unshackled by greed, a life unbound by the illusions of excess. For the Stoic, simplicity is not a sacrifice. It is the key to inner peace, the doorway to a life of true freedom. The Stoics believe that death is not the end, but a reminder to live fully, without fear, without hesitation, without regret. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "You could leave life right now. Let that determine what you do and say and think." This practice, known as memento mori, is not a morbid fixation on death, but a call to awaken to life's fleeting nature. Imagine standing at the edge of a vast, empty desert, the sun sinking low, shadows stretching long. The sand slips through your fingers, grain by grain, each representing a moment that will never return. The Stoic stares at that sand and remembers that each grain is precious, each moment finite. While others waste time chasing trivial pursuits, the Stoic uses the awareness of death as fuel to live with urgency and purpose. Seneca warned that life is not short, it is long enough if we use it wisely. But how much time do we waste in anger, in worry, in meaningless distractions? How many days do we spend caught up in petty conflicts, in pursuit of things that don't matter? The Stoic asks, if today were my last, would this matter? Would this argument, this grudge, this fear hold any weight? The answer, more often than not, is no. And in that realization lies the power to let go, to release what doesn't matter and focus only on what does. Memento mori is not about fearing death. It is about living so fully, so intentionally, that when the final moment arrives, we can meet it without regret, without unfinished business, without having squandered our days. For in the end, the Stoic does not fear death, for they have truly lived. They have embraced each moment as if it were their last, turning every day into a masterpiece of meaning, a monument to a life well lived.